Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Emmett, and I'm here with you today for a brand new segment of Beyond the Arc News, where we talk about all things Valpo Athletics. I'm joined today with my co-hosts Alexa Minton, Noah Godsell, and Alan Marvel. And our first topic of the day, we'll be talking about the NCAA transfer portal and its implications for Valparaiso University. So, guys, one of the biggest issues that's been plaguing Valpo these past couple of seasons has been the huge increase in transfers to and from Valpo. Last season, we lost a big core of our unit, especially after the 2019 Arch Madness run. We lost Donovan Clay. We lost Javon Freeman Liberty. We lost a lot of heavy hitters. This season, we brought in a couple Big Ten recruits, and we also brought in transfers from D2 schools as well. And with the recent addition of Nick Edwards from Glenville State, there's a lot to look forward to this season. So what do we think is the reason with all these transfers in and out of the university?
I think what's big or what's telling from this transfer portal season for Valpo, they've only lost 3 guys, Sheldon Edwards, Keandre Young, and Trey Woodyard. And I think what that tells me is that this team sees something special within the team because they're staying together, and I think that's the biggest thing they need. It doesn't matter who's coming in. I mean, it does, but that's like if it's a really, really good player. But it doesn't matter quite who's coming in. It's the fact that the team is staying together. Because if you take a look at the end of Arch Madness, it was Loyola and Drake in the finals again, and these teams had so much experience together. Like almost everyone on the court in their starting lineup was seniors. And they're players that stayed there throughout. And if you looked at Valpo, the only player that was starting, that was on the team last year, was Ben Cricky. Yep. And I think experience together, especially in this conference, is just huge.
Yep. And I think one of the biggest reasons why experience is so important is because we didn't have that chemistry that we were expecting this season. We had a lot of Big Ten talent coming in, especially from Wisconsin, Michigan State. We were lined up to be a fantastic team this season, and while we might not have met expectations that we thought, there is still a lot to look forward to. The loss of Sheldon and Keandre obviously hurts with building a team around like some younger guys, but there's a lot to look forward to in terms of older guys that are here, Ben Cricky being one of the reliable foundational pieces of this team, and I think we have a lot to look forward to next season as well with Valpo basketball. But what do you guys think?
What do you guys think is probably going to happen with everyone transferring in and out? I know you mentioned having that team unity. Do you think maybe next year we're going to see more people enter the transfer portal, or do you think we're going to finally hit our stride and kind of lock in? I know we just had Nick Edwards transfer to Valpo, and he did an interview with the Northwest Indiana Times, and he talked a little bit about how he's had like 74 assists his past season, so he is big on passing the ball. Do you think that's going to be beneficial for, like you guys mentioned, the team unity stuff, or do we think this is going to be hurtful for Valpo getting points on the board?
I mean, I think it's going to be huge picking up Nick Edwards. The thing that they didn't have this year was a guy like him. And that's exactly what Valpo needed to pick up, a guy who can get a lot of assists. This past season, their assist leader was, I think it was Preston, and he had like 2.1 assists a game. And if you're looking at the rest of the conference, everyone has a guy who has 5+ assists per game. And Nick keeps telling the media, I'm a pass-first point guard. I don't care what I have to do as long as we win. And I really love that because it just shows the drive he has and just his desire to help this team win. And I think he'll be huge. And I like that Valpo's going towards these Division II guys because he's coming from Glenville State. And with picking up Kevion Taylor this past year, he was absolutely huge for the team. Some say he was the MVP of the team for the season. And I like that they're going after these D2 guys because it's a lot more realistic for a mid-major school like Valpo, and they can make a big impact.
I know you guys brought up Emil and Ben earlier, and I know that they are very strong in the post, so it's great to find out that we're getting a guard like that who would be willing to always get it in the post or get it to other people to help score, because our post players know how to work, and they are always putting in the work and trying to make us better. And you can always see that in every game because they're always bringing the energy, or they're always the ones trying to score the best. And I think we just really see that, so it's glad to get additions to our team like that.
Yeah, and I really think when you brought up Ben and Emil, the important part was that they are these big guys down low who can set plays and it revolves around them. You can tell the team kind of revolves around their actions and responds accordingly. But bringing in guys like Nick Edwards who want to pass the ball and initiate something further down the court than even they are, and having these Kevion Taylor type of play figures, and Sheldon Edwards did that a little bit last season, but not as much as we were hoping for. And I think having guys who can initiate play besides Ben and Emil makes Valpo a much more dynamic team, and they can hope it'll make other teams in the Missouri Valley Conference, it'll make them harder for them to guard such a big team that can initiate plays as often as they want with whoever they want. I feel like that's the most important part.
Yeah, and I think for this season, just upcoming, kind of like a preview kind of thing, someone that we haven't even talked about yet, Kobe King.
Yes.
Kobe King.
That's not official that he's coming back yet, but he has said that he's going to come back as long as he gets his waiver approved or whatever it is. He should have another year, and I don't see why that waiver would not get approved. So him coming back is big. I mean, I know what he's capable of. I'm from Wisconsin. I saw him play when he was at Wisconsin, and he's very good. I mean, DeMar DeRozan-like things, Emmett. And he's capable of a lot. We saw a flash of it against Indiana State this past year. But I think him getting a year under his belt and just coming in for his final year, I think he could do some big things, which is just adding to the talent that this team has. With they have Ben, they have Kobe, and pulling in Nick Edwards. There's a lot of scoring options for this team, and that's what I'm looking forward to most.
Yeah, and this isn't just an issue that's been plaguing Valparaiso University either. The transfer portal has taken many huge names from not even just Missouri Valley Conference and mid-major teams, but even Big Ten teams, ACC, A10. This isn't just a Valpo problem that we're seeing. And we sat down recently with Paul Lauren, actually, and asked him, what do you think about the situation, not with just Valpo? And he gave us a really good answer. He's like, I don't think this is specifically a Valpo issue, and I don't think Valpo is the sole reason why so many guys are transferring from the school. I have good experience with a lot of my freshman residents. I'm a residence assistant, and a lot of them are football players, and 2 of them are transferring, and it seems like for a lot of athletes, and they were a good representation of this, they just want to get closer to home. COVID-19 kind of separated everybody, especially when you're coming from Texas, when you're coming from these California schools, coastal schools, Oklahoma. It's really hard to play for a team in Northwest Indiana and not have your family there to back you, especially after you haven't really seen them in 2.5 years because of travel protocols and things like that. And I think Valpo is just one of many schools that's suffering from it, and especially with NCAA eligibility and gaining an extra year because of COVID-19. Keandre Young was injured and was able to be redshirted, so he has that extra year of eligibility. I feel like the transfer portal kind of grabs people from all walks of life, not just Valpo.
I feel like also last year was such an odd year for like sports across the board. And I feel like now that the transfer portal is obviously an option for so many students, maybe last year they enjoyed their time, they chose to stay another year at whatever school they were at, and it's kind of transitioning for them and realizing, hey, as things are opening up, we're playing more games, we're getting more involved, the arenas are getting filled again with people. Maybe this isn't where I want to be. Maybe this is not even academically. All sorts of different factors got to play into it. But I know a lot of people were really disheartened with how many, I feel like Valpo people kind of hopped into the transfer portal right off the bat.
Yeah,
so.
And just like the final thing that I want to say about this transfer portal is, yes, 3 people left, and that sucks. But last year, 9 people left.
Yep.
That's
So
true.
I think that shows you that Coach Loddick and the basketball staff has really created a community that these players like, and they want to stay and create something special and pack the arc again and give these fans something to cheer for.
I thought it was really neat. One more thing before we change
That's
topics.
okay, that's
Sorry,
okay.
I know I have to add something. No, you mentioned that the coaches have really created a positive environment. A couple of us are friends with Leah Ernest, and she's on the women's basketball team. And they had a couple people enter the transfer portal. And I know I ran into her the other day, and I asked her, I was like, how are you feeling about that? I know she's not entering the transfer portal. And she said it was kind of sad to see her teammates go. But the way, I was talking about Shea Frederick, and the way Shea kind of announced the team was, I wanted to let you guys know that I've loved my time with you, I appreciate you. And I think that's really respectful, especially for all these, I think these are more individualized decisions and they don't want to harm the team because of the environment the coach has created.
All right, so shifting gears a little bit, we're going to be heading into intramural sports now in Valpo Athletics. Big part of campus culture here is intramurals, whether it be volleyball, floor hockey, dodgeball, you name it. It's a huge part of the culture here. So, Noah and Alan, what about intramurals should we be looking forward to, especially in the upcoming season?
So actually this Monday we have our volleyball championship, which me and Noah are both very excited to participate in. SIGEP versus Spike Tyson's in the men's championship on Monday at 9. And then at Tuesday at 9, we have the women's championship between G5 Spice and Chi Omega. They're both going to be great games, and since it's a championship, it's best of 5 sets, so they're drawn out a little longer. But I'm very excited to at least get to participate on my end, and I know that the women's teams are really looking forward to it. I work with most of the women who are participating in the women's championship, and they have all been so psyched to see how it's going to go down, and I am too, because I know it's going to be a very interesting game between G5 and Chi O.
Yeah, the thing that I'm most interested in is the fact that it's 5 sets. Because, first of all, there's a reason why we're playing intramural sports. There's a reason why we're not Division I athletes. And, we usually do best of 3, and I get pretty tired in best of 3 games. And the fact that there's a possibility that we could be playing 5 sets, it's going to come down to who can really stick it out. And something that I love to point out that not many people talk about is the mental aspect of sports. Because the longer you're out there, the tougher it can get. And it's harder once you're out there for a long time. I played tennis, and it's tough sometimes. And if it does get to that point, it's going to be a mental game, to be completely honest. So I'm interested to see what happens with that one.
Yeah, I know, especially for me, I'm very excited to go to 5 sets. Like, hopefully we don't. Hopefully, someone could win in 3, but we shall see. But going to 5 sets makes you feel like the actual aspect of real-life volleyball, at least, because in college you play best of 5. So it's exciting to get to see that we might get to do that as well. And then we get a big crowd there. We actually get to run the scoreboard. We play on the actual volleyball court, so it's very exciting to see. And I know that I'm excited, and everyone else on our team is excited, and we're actually making our own hype video for it. So it should be very fun.
Lord.
So who do you guys think are the players to watch in these games?
Well, I know we all probably have a little bias because obviously we want to see you two succeed on your teams, but I think it's really funny when you watch intramural sports, you can tell the students who were athletes in that specific sport in high school. Mm-hmm. So I know I mentioned G5 is getting ready to play Chi O in their semifinal team. And you can very clearly tell that Sarah Franck and Rachel Yeager played pretty competitively in high school. And so it's really fun to see a mix of friendships. I think that's what's so special about intramurals. You have those people who maybe they chose to go to school and focus more on their academics versus going to, even though they probably could have been competent to even play in a D3 school for some sort of sport, but now they're doing intramurals. And then you have those students who, I remember my freshman year, I played intramural volleyball, and I've never touched a volleyball in my life. So I think it's really interesting and fun to watch those students kind of go back and forth. And I know for volleyball, I feel like Valpo gets pretty intense and serious about it. A lot of the students are very invested in these games. You guys draw pretty big crowds, which isn't really common, I feel like, sometimes for intramurals. But I don't know. I know for sure out of Chi O and G5, I feel like I would definitely favor G5 just because they have those 2 players who have been really dominant, in my opinion.
Yeah. Going off of that topic, I know Sarah and Rachel did compete together over high school and on competitive teams. And then they also have Kinsey Kahn on their team, who is a great outside hitter, and she's a great blocker. So I'm very excited to see that. But I know also on the Chi O team, Madison Land also played competitively in high school, and I know she will be a big help for them, and then Trina Grunst did as well. So I'm excited to see them play. I know on the men's side, our team, We have a great dynamic together. We have Aaron Spoleto, who played all through high school. And then on the Spike Tyson's team, we have Ben Fishers, who is a great volleyball player, and he should be one to watch for the Spike Tyson's team, that I know for sure.
Well, besides the studs over here, I think I'm most excited about with volleyball, it's just the culture around it and the campus impact it has. I feel like I hear a lot more buzz even about intramural sports sometimes than I do about Division I athletics here. And maybe it's just because I'm just friends with a lot of people who end up in those sports. It's fun watching you guys, and it's fun having people you know play and just have fun and enjoy doing what they love. I was never good at volleyball personally, because you ever seen a big man try and get up like that? It doesn't really work. But being able to watch, and your fellow interfraternal brothers as well, because it's just fun supporting the community. It's fun being a part of that and the culture surrounding it, because it really is just a good time to go out and support your friends, which I'm a huge fan of. And SIGAP will be fantastic, as I know they always are. They will always have a good showing. The Spike Tysons, up-and-coming freshmen. You got a couple of young bloods there, which will be very interesting to see how they turn out in the future. Maybe they'll change their name. I hope they don't. As for the Chi Omega Gamma Phi Beta, and Chi Omega, I'm going with Gamma Phi Beta. So
I feel like that's a good pick. I think that they just have more power, I guess, in my personal opinion.
the picks are locked in.
I know that we're talking about volleyball right now, but like in intramurals in general, I know I'm personally very upset that we didn't see the return of floor hockey for intramurals this year. I'm a big fan of the floor hockey just because, you know, field hockey's been something that I'm passionate about. But I'm kind of curious, so last year we had to adjust everything for intramurals based on a lot of COVID protocols from our university. And so now we kind of saw the slow transition maybe in the fall a little bit. So we did a lot of outdoor sports, and now we've kind of transitioned back into volleyball, which I know everyone was very excited about because we do take volleyball intramurals very seriously. But I know we got to see kickball and dodgeball. What are we I know, Alan, you kind of mentioned this earlier. What do you think we're going to look for maybe sports, I know, for the rest of the spring semester, and then are we going to maybe see some sports return? Maybe some floor hockey is going to return or not?
Yeah, so this is the fun part about being an intramural coordinator. You get all the inside tea before everyone else does, so you know it's coming back. So I know that I can share on my end. We are currently in our kickball, softball, and soccer seasons, which are all very exciting. They're all played outside on Brown Field, and it's very exciting to see. But I do know that, like, even today, we have a spike ball, cornhole, and can jam tournament. So I highly recommend coming out today and playing those. And then in a couple of weeks, we're having a sand volleyball tournament, and we are having a floor hockey tournament come back to the next couple of weeks.
Yes!
So get excited for that. And then, like you did say, we have returned mostly to normal this year with all of our sports, which is great. Because the last 2 years, like, it's been very hard to even get intramural sports in because, one, wearing masks sucks during certain sports, not being able to play inside and things like that. So it just really took a big toll. But now that it's back to normal, everyone's back, everyone's hype, and I'm excited to see these seasons play out.
I'll excuse you calling it cornhole instead of bag.
Oh,
it's
no,
cornhole.
it's cornhole.
It's cornhole.
It is objectively not cornhole.
Okay,
You know
who at the desk thinks it's cornhole?
I think it's
you're
cornhole.
outnumbered.
I think you're
Yeah,
wrong.
3-1.
I think you guys are simply wrong. I think I'm the host of this show, so I get to tell you what it is.
I think it's because you're a Bulls fan.
I don't think it's because I'm a Bulls fan, actually. That was kind of derogatory. Thank you. Okay, so shifting into the next topic, we will be talking about
More volleyball.
more volleyball, but this time at the Division I level. So, women's volleyball head coach Carin Avery has re-signed a multi-year contract to continue being the coach for the university. But before that, and before we kind of get into it, we're going to take a quick commercial break so that we can rest our vocal cords and get ready for the next topic. So we'll be back in a little bit. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Arc News. So our next topic for the day is Carin Avery, the women's volleyball coach, re-signing with Valparaiso on a multi-year contract. Guys, what does this mean for the upcoming seasons, and is it a good reflection of the past?
Well, this is a great reflection of the past. I mean, changed my mind, but Carin Avery is the best coach in the Valley, easily. And I love that she's staying around. She's been here for over 20 years at this point, and that just shows the community that Valpo creates and that she feels like she could be here. She's had offers from Power 5 schools before, and she turned them down to stay here. And she's an incredible coach. She's led this team to a lot of success. I mean, this past season, 26-10, made it to the NIVC championship. I mean, she's done a lot for this program, and she's recruited a very great team, and big things to come from.
Yeah, I think Carin really defines what a Valpo culture is about, which is establishing that family early on and just letting it kind of marinate throughout the season. I mean, like you said, 26-10 regular season record, 12-6 conference season record. I believe they finished 3rd in the Valley with that record. And honestly, this season, I've never seen an atmosphere in the Arc like this women's volleyball season. This was the first time I truly felt like we packed the Arc that everybody wants to. And I believe it's all a product of Carin Avery. Plus, you have the senior leadership with Peyton McCarthy, a couple other leading figures in the team. But you also have young talent coming up that's really been the source of a lot of the initiated plays that have been happening this past season.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I have been watching volleyball at Valpo since my freshman year, and this year was a year like no other. Seeing so many students be there and be so hyped, especially during like the NIVC championship game. Like, we had themes, like we had like a blackout theme on the last day, and that whole gym was just like everyone in black shirts. They had bandanas, they had everything, and the student section, you literally could not fit any more people. Like, people were on the floor. It was so full.
Like, there are people on the side in the behind the Valpo bench. I mean, you just talked about it's giving me chills right now. Like, I keep like, ooh. And it was such an electric atmosphere. I was sideline reporting for that game, and I was sitting across the way. Every single time Valpo scored a point, the place was shaking. Like, credit to UNLV for completely overcoming that, because you do not see that often in volleyball. That place was incredible, probably one of the best in all of college, honestly, for the season, because it's a smaller arena, and everyone was just packed in there. There was over 2,500 people in there, which is over capacity for what they had, because they didn't have the big bleachers coming down. Yep. But it was so much fun. Everyone there was just rooting on Valpo, and it just shows that the student section's alive. It's there. You just need to get some wins under your belt to get them to show up, that's the tough part. But we're all busy. We all do a lot of stuff. I mean, it's college, and to see that everyone came out for volleyball. I think volleyball probably had more students come for their games this year than basketball during the regular season too.
I would agree.
I mean, the fact that people are coming out for volleyball, I mean, it's an underrated sport in my opinion, and it makes me so happy to see people come and support them.
I think that's when you brought up the fact that it's for volleyball, just shows how like the team, not only were they succeeding obviously in their like season and their careers, but they were also succeeding in like engaging the audience and like feeding off the crowd's energy. And I mean, Valpo is very interesting because if you look at like historically, I feel like it's always been, oh, Valpo basketball, Valpo basketball, Valpo basketball. And like now we kind of watched a shift towards this year. I mean, just a few seconds ago, we were talking about how everyone's really focused on intramural volleyball. But this past year, you mentioned the fact that the student section wasn't necessarily as packed. I saw a couple women's games where you would usually expect them to be just jam-packed full, and there wasn't really a present student section. And I think that's really interesting to watch, that because not only did they succeed in their season, but they also really succeeded in like re-engaging the Valpo student section, the Valpo like community, because I know it's kind of been blocked out because students weren't necessarily allowed to attend certain games and stuff last year, and just seeing them kind of come back in full throttle was a really cool thing to watch.
Yeah, and Carin Avery, 449 and 217 overall record. That is over a 2-to-1 win-to-loss ratio for a coach
ratio.
Yeah, who has been the coach for 20-plus years. And I think the records speak for themselves. I mean, what Avery has done for this team and helped build a culture around women's volleyball, and yeah, again, made it exciting. Like again, I remember so vividly homecoming weekend this past fall, as the season was kind of kicking into full gear. Even alumni were showing out, and there was equally as many alumni as students there, and even getting alumni who kind of maybe just go for certain events during homecoming week, having them at the volleyball game and having the parents too. The parents of the players were an essential force, and I feel like there's just such great chemistry between Avery, the team, and the parents, but also with the students themselves. President Padilla made his way out there. He was getting into all of it, and yeah, the players feed off our energy. The student section, when it's alive, is the single greatest tool in helping a team overcome a really solid, like a UNLV, or in basketball, Loyola Chicago, Drake, anything like that.
Yeah, and going off of that point, one thing I really liked, I know during like when I was in the student section at some of the games, the volleyball parents and Coach Avery herself, they would always walk over in front of the student section and they would like start chants and get us hyped. They also love the energy and they want us to be there, which is one thing that I really loved, is that they were over there just along with all the students and did not care, and were leading chants and were doing all the fun things with us. And it was just a great thing to see the culture around the volleyball team this year.
Yeah, and something that the volleyball program overall does really well, especially Coach Avery. They're plugged in on campus. I mean, you see the players walk around campus. They're friends with a lot of people on campus. And Coach Avery goes around campus too. Like, I've seen her just walking around Founders. We were lucky enough for SIGEB. We had a supper club with her. And all we did was we sat there for 2 hours and talked. And it was so much fun, and like I feel like our entire chapter at this point is like, we're gonna go and cheer on this volleyball team because we're buddies with Coach Avery.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff like that, which I think is huge, especially in college athletics. Especially, that's a blessing with being at a smaller school like Valpo. Yeah. These athletes, you can connect with them and get to know them. And volleyball does a great job at that. And I feel like not every sport does that. It's I think every sport should do.
Yeah.
And going off of that, like, we had her at a supper club, and so we were talking to her actually just the other day, and we were like, hey, like, the volleyball championships are coming up. Are you going to come out to watch? And she's actually coming to watch the championship games, which is really cool to see that our coaches don't only just care about their team. They care about all the students, and we're like, you should come out, and she's coming to watch the games, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I feel like something that happens at Valpo, like Noah points out, that doesn't really happen here, is how connected just athletics in general are into the campus community. Like, again, the freshman volleyball players, both Elise Wistek and Abby Boyle, are both Lincoln now residents, where I'm a residence assistant, and we get to see them. I literally see them playing ping pong every single day with one another and being on the floor and being active in the community with everybody. It's a fantastic feeling, and seeing all the athletic teams show out support for like whether basketball season and football season. I remember specifically during men's and women's basketball, occasionally the baseball or the football teams would show up, and when you can get an entire team there, it is wonderful morale boosting for the guys or women who are playing on the court, the field at any given time. And I feel like volleyball is the perfect example of that.
And I feel like that's also another testament, obviously, to Coach Avery's success because, of course, they've had a very, very successful season, like, on the court, but if you watch like the team and just their like unified front across campus, I mean, we've been talking about it here for now a couple minutes, just the fact that they're so united and they kind of work together as a team, not just on the court, but also off the court. I think that's really special, and it's definitely improving their play off the court. I don't know, I think it's something special that you don't really see a lot. It definitely shows a testament to Coach Avery's ability towards her team.
Well, something special is the name of the game this season, especially because both in volleyball and now transitioning into the best baseball start for Valpo men's baseball since joining the Missouri Valley Conference, and in recent memory, it's been the best start just in general to the season.
Yeah, it's the best start in a year that starts with 2. And they're looking pretty good. I know their record, if you look at it, it's not like, wow, they're at around 500 right now.
11-13.
Just getting into conference play right now. But they played some tough teams. I mean, they played Notre Dame when they were number 1. It said they were number 6, but like once the game started, the rankings came out and they were number 1. It's confusing.
Yeah.
They played Southeast Missouri State. They're pretty good as well. I mean, people sleep on them a little bit. It's like SEMO, like who's the SEMO?
What's a SEMO?
Yeah, but, they're a very good team, and don't gripe on their record at all because this is one of the best starts. Valpo Baseball has not really made a history or a name for itself, and they've done a lot to improve the facilities over there.
Yep.
They have a brand new press box up there. There's ESPN coverage of all the games now. And they're looking pretty good, and they're a young team, and there's a lot of potential on that team, a lot of freshmen. Some of them are redshirting right now, too. And I remember I was doing covering for WVUR at a game against St. Bonaventure, and we were going through the lineup, and we were saying, oh, this guy's got a lot of experience, and he's a sophomore. And it just shows what this team can do, and when you're at college, almost everyone kind of gets better every single year they're there, and the longer they're there, the better they're going to get. And I think these players have a very tight-knit community on the team, and I think they're going to stay together. And by the time most of these guys are seniors, I think they'll be at the top of the valley.
Yep.
I think it was really cool to watch, too, because they had a couple games postponed, didn't they? I know that there was a couple different things that were postponed because of different weather events, of course, in Valpo, and just to see, things be shook up on them just right off the bat and then to immediately come in pretty strong. I think that shows a lot of testament to the fact that they've been preparing, they're ready for this. Like you mentioned, a lot of them have a good amount of experience just as sophomores. So I think they were shook up a little bit having things rescheduled and stuff like that, and then right off the bat they came in really strong.
I think also coming off really strong, one great thing about this year with baseball and softball is that we actually get to stream them through like our ESPN channel that we have here at Valpo, because a lot of students usually don't really have time to go to the baseball and softball games because they're during the day or they're like during most people's classes, and it's really hard to get out and watch them. But now that we can actually stream them and like share that across campus, I think there's going to be a lot more energy around the baseball and softball teams this year, and that'll also, like just with volleyball, it'll bring the team together and they might play better based off of that.
And I think once conference play does start this coming weekend up against Indiana State, I feel like as the weather warms up and as we kind of do have this momentum heading in later into the conference season, we are 11-13 right now, but again, that's a better record than we've really posted since recent memory. And Valpo was predicted in the preseason poll to come in last place in the Missouri Valley Conference and finish, while Indiana State, who they'll be playing this weekend, was picked to finish second. So having that momentum as an underdog kind of competition, and again, as the weather gets warmer and hopefully less doubleheaders so they have more energy per game, they'll be able to really show out, and especially with the young talent that they have coming in, I feel like there's a lot to look forward to from this team, especially some hitters like Adam Roush. He's a big one that's been in St. Bonaventure in the doubleheader. He had a 3-run homer earlier in the first game of the day, and he was a huge part of their success, and I feel like throughout much of the season, he will be a big person to look for as well.
And Emmett, you were talking about a family feud that's going to be going on this weekend?
Yeah, so a fun fact about this, did some digging for the Thursday newscast. So third baseman on Valparaiso University Beacon team, Mark Hanna's, his dad is actually the head coach of the Indiana State Sycamores. So that's a nice little family rivalry to talk about over dinner. I'm sure it'll be pleasant enough for the whole family. But it's something to look forward to, and it gives us a reason to get out there, especially if not, we already didn't have a reason to get out there, because the games will be at Emory G. Bauer Field this week, and I believe they play Indiana State twice this weekend.
Yep.
And all are welcome. They want people to be there. I mean, as the weather gets warmer, again, hate to bring in weather into this, but there'll be a warm front pushing through on Sunday.
Yep, 60 degrees.
60 degrees. That's beautiful baseball weather, especially with the start of spring, opening day in the MLB. It gives us something to look forward to. I think it's a perfect time to show out and go support your Beacons, because if they have this momentum, why not enjoy the ride?
Yeah, not many people go out there. It's a nice facility out there. They just redid the infield to be all turf, and the new press box. There's a good amount of seating. You can sit right behind home plate, maybe get on TV. But it's a nice place out there. I just been out there for the first time a couple weeks ago. It's pretty neat out there, and I know they're going to be getting a new scoreboard pretty soon. They're going to be renovating the outfield, just making it a little more modern of a stadium.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really go out there because it's like across the street from like the main campus, and like no one really knows where it is. It's kind of like tucked away back in the back. But I know a lot of people this year have actually got to like go over to the baseball field, and we like had other events on the fields by the baseball field. So I think that now it's more known of like where it's at, and like that anyone could go to the games. I think we should have a bigger turnout this year for like supporting our baseball team.
Yeah, and I think it's just a general trend that Valpo students should be following, which is just showing general support for their athletic teams, whether it be on the Division I level, intramural, club sports. It's all about supporting your friends, supporting your fellow athletes, and people who are just part of your community. Because if you don't have pride in your community, what do you have? So that's all from us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed your first segment of Beyond the Arc News. I'm Emmett Twomey.
I'm Alexa Minton.
I'm Noah Godsell.
And I'm Alan Marble.
And this is Beyond the Arc News. We hope to see you next time. Have a great afternoon.